Man, is it hot out here today. So I am looking into this Belfast bullshit. And to me, it seems like I've heard this story before. It's such it's such an interesting thing to see, you know, white people are extremely racist. Extremely racist. And to consistently hear people deny it and you know, the person calling out the racism is always the bad guy, not the racist. And the consistent denial, this notion that people of color are lying. They're just always lying about the same thing. And it's interesting because as I say it, I realize like that's what they do in every aspect of life. You know, you can have numerous people, numerous victims talking about the vicious, violent child sexual abuse that's happening all over Israel every single day, every 2 weeks at least. Soul correction is happening in different communities, and I doubt it's all on the same day. But this shit is there are thousands and thousands of cases of it, victims that have either come forth or said something, whatever, and they describe the same things down to the victims are or the violators are singing the same songs, reading the same verses, and yet they're just all having the same intuition. It's not like it's the way it is kind of thing. And so this Belfast thing, I mean, I've literally seen this before. I'm trying to remember what the details were, but I'm pretty sure it was in Manchester, and it was two what I believe to be Sudanese men involved in a knife attack, and the details and all. Like, for some reason, there's no footage of it, and just weird. And the only footage that does exist is the aftermath. And this Belfast thing, I mean, you have a knife attack, supposedly a knife attack. I'm still trying to find the details of it. But, if somebody attacks somebody else with a knife, there's either a reason, like there's some sort of situation that led up to this, or that person has a mental issue. Mental issues exist all over the place, every culture. So to unless this knife attack is due to ritual or some sort of, you can connect it to a string of these things that are like, again, I mean, ritual, that's literally all I can come up with. Like, outside of a ritual, if one guy attacks another guy, I mean, are we saying that there's never any sort of violence in Ireland between one white person and another white person? There's never any attacks, there's never any death, there's never any stabbing. Jesus, now we have some dumbass. But if our gospel be hid, it is hid to them that are lost. Like, this is the dumbass shit. right? What does that have to do with anything? And blind the minds. See, I love this part of the Bible where they're like, yeah, if somebody starts making sense and saying things that you can't debunk, well, they're a lost cause. We only want the willing sheep. If somebody puts up resistance and asks you to elaborate, asks you to explain things, there's something wrong there. They're blinded. Like, it's such a cowardly way to do things, right? It's really quite interesting how the Bible knows how stupid it is, so it has these these little safety nets thrown in there, right? Again, if somebody is making sense, if somebody is pointing out the hypocrisy, if somebody is making you think in a different way, don't engage them. But at the funny thing is, they feel the need to say these things. Like, they'll engage with the, oh, well, you're just blind. And this guy has all of these quotes already ready for people, right? Like, he's so used to having these kind that he knows if somebody doesn't believe what you're saying, if somebody's not a good sheep, then you say this and this and this and this and this. You ask him for evidence as to why the Bible's true. Ask him for evidence as to, just any of it. And he doesn't have that shit. He can't handle a normal conversation. But he has his excuses already ready already. In whom the God of this world hath blinded the minds them which believe not, lest the light of the glorious gospel of Christ, who is the image of God, should shine upon them. Right. Basically, those who don't believe it are like, hey, I don't believe it unless I see something. I'm sorry, but I know who wrote this thing. I'm definitely not about to worship some Jewish guy. So unless you can show me that this thing is real, that the light shines on my face, yeah, I'm sorry, I'm not dumb like you. I don't just believe what I'm told. If you have multiple consciousness working towards a goal, anything is possible. It's true. Well, I wouldn't say anything. Like, nobody is just gonna fly. You can create something to help someone fly. Put some human machinery or whatever in there. But I don't care how many people stand around me and pray and hold hands and give me all their juju. I'm not gonna just be like, wow, and fly up in the air. It's not gonna happen. For the invisible things of him from the creation of the world are clearly seen. The invisible things are clearly seen, are they? Being understood by the things that are made, even his eternal power and Godhead, so that they are without excuse. Again, like, we're talking common sense here. You're gonna say dumb shit. And okay, well, what are you talking about? What is this obvious, example of proving that your thing is correct? And only your thing. Because that. And it's interesting too how this guy's like doing that thing where pastors, priests, they do that thing where they jump from, like, who did that? Who sat there and put that codex together? Well, let me read these 3 lines, and then let me jump to a completely different book and read these 2 lines, and then over here I'm going to just read 1, and then I'm going to jump back and read 5 here, and then go over it. Like, do you understand? Like, if the priest or the pastor or whatever was smart enough to be able to do that, then they'd be able to have a decent conversation. Obviously, they get these codexes, these whatever they are, from someplace. It was, it's the priestly handbooks or whatever. The sermon handbooks. They don't put that shit together themselves. It's ridiculous. It's just ridiculous. And again, if somebody was capable of putting that together themselves, they'd be able to actually engage in a conversation. These dumbasses can't do shit. This guy is starting with a whole bunch of reasons why he's not going to be able to answer for anything. And that is because if you don't believe it, you're just blind. I mean, think about that. Why would you ever want to worship a God that wants you to be as dumb a sheep as possible? That doesn't encourage you to give it your best and say, all right, challenge me. Let me show you. Let me prove it to you. I'm asking the world of you. And in doing so, I'm asking you to overlook a whole bunch of pedophilia. So to justify overlooking all that pedophilia, war, slavery, all that shit, there's this, right? Like, you would think that's how it would work, but it's not. And you have super dumb Ken who can't even make the points himself. But he's like, yeah, oh, thank you. I can't say these things myself. Because that, when they knew God, they glorified him not as God, neither were thankful, but became vain in their imaginations, and their foolish heart was darkened. What are you even talking about? The best part about this is clearly past tense. This isn't talking about something that's about to happen. This isn't talking about the future in any way. When they knew God, they glorified him, not as God, but they were thankful. Like, all of this is past tense. It's so crazy how Christians don't see that. Like, they think it's some sort of prediction or some shit. And it's clearly past tense. Like, what are you, stupid? But now in Christ Jesus, ye who sometimes were far off are made nigh by the blood of Christ. Again, I so badly want understanding from someone who would read that and be like, oh yeah. Like, please explain to me, because this is really, really stupid to me. And I assume that you have to be really stupid in order to think this way. So please tell me how you're not. Because we're jumping from 4:4 to Romans 1:21 to Ephesians 2:13 to back to 1 Corinthians 2:2. Like, why is it in this weird ass? Why isn't it more straightforward? And of course, just like in the Talmud, in the Mishnah Nada, there's no like, hey, children are off limits, by the way. Let me start by saying that. Anybody who fucks with children gets killed. No excuses. No second chances. It's weird how that's never said. And it's funny too, like, look at, the funniest thing is the desperate stupidity of the Christians. Like, they're at least trying. The friars, they just cry. They just cry. I'm literally reading their thing to them, and they're crying. The Christians are hearing me read the friar thing, and they're crying too. But this shit is just goofy. Everyone has free will to choose eternal life. Oh man, you're so stupid. So do you have free will, or is it God's plan? You can't have a plan if free will can mess it up. Like, I can't just be like, in a year from now, I'm going to plant this tree right here and it's going to grow into, like, I can't do that. I don't know what's going to happen in a year from now. And if it comes down to, like in a year from now, I'm going to have lunch with Bill at this diner. Well, how do I know? All the free will that's involved in that diner, how do I know nobody's going to burn that diner down? Nobody's going to, the owner's not going to decide to sell it and move on. Bill's not going to get in a car accident. I'm not. How do we know any of that shit? Free will comes in. You can't plan shit like that. But apparently God has a plan for everything. And somehow that includes everyone's free will, which could go in any direction possible. It's just so stupid. What would you like me to explain? Give me a single piece of evidence that supports your choice to believe in Christianity over Islam. Like, why is Christianity true and Islam's not? I didn't realize that God's word makes perfect sense. Never. When it makes sense. What part makes perfect sense? Like, it's crazy how stupid you guys are in that you pretend like you can engage, but then you'll never answer for anything. Have you read the Bible from front to back? No, it's painful. It's really an awful, awful story. And I've tried, and I've made it through a lot. I've read important chapters and whatnot. I've read Genesis. I read about Noah, and I read about Sodom and Gomorrah, and I know quite a bit about it. But reading it cover to cover is just it's not worth my time. It's so terrible. It's just such a horrible book. And the thing is, all of the people that have claimed that they've read it are the dumbest people I know. Like, you reading it cover to cover doesn't give you any sort of understanding that you can seemingly express. You claim to have this enlightenment and all this other shit, but man, ask you some questions and you just start tripping over yourself. We are all sinners in need of the Savior. See what I mean? What a childish, dumbass thing to say. We are all sinners in need of a Savior, and he's not going to show up. Yeah. Just stupid. Just a level of stupidity that immediately presents itself. Intellect. Depends on the situation, I guess. I would say that in real life, possibly. But again, by suggesting that, you're suggesting that there's some sort of divinity, some serendipity that's controlling everything, and there's not. Obviously you can learn from just about everybody, whether it's a good thing or a bad thing, that's up to you, but I'm sorry, but the serendipitous bullshit is ridiculous. The friars require the sign of the Greeks. Oh, Jesus. God wrote the word through man, the prophet. Yep, that's what it did. Like, see what I mean? It's just so stupid. You can't make nothing out of something. You can't make nothing out of something. If I grab like a vase, I can make it into nothing, just a bunch of shards. I guess it's still shards, but you can't make nothing out of something. That makes a lot of sense. Human consciousness and working together for the greater good is the goal, the key to getting the story right. Which story? Based on your questions and concerns, and when I read the Bible, I don't read skipping verses, but when proving a point, if you go to the... What? Again, just stupid responses. You didn't prove anything. I don't even know what point you think you proved. You just said a bunch of dumb shit. A bunch of excuses. Oh, Jesus. And by default, you're the child of the devil. I love when they start saying that shit. Like, you're so good at this that you're so much better than any human I've come across. So you must have some supernatural help. It must be the devil seeping in there and manipulating things, because, you know, no human can be this smart. Jesus, man. See, this is what I mean. Like, there's no point in even talking to this dumbass. He's fucking stupid. Revelation is the final book. We are in the beginning. No, you're dumb. What about what Matthew 24:34 says? Let's see how many of you dumb Christians know that one. Right? Because Revelations is spoken. This is what's going to happen. And all the Jesus freaks are like, oh my God, this is crazy. Hey, Jesus, when is all this going to happen? And Jesus says, verily, verily, I say unto you that no one of this generation shall die before all of these things come to pass. So let's be real here, right? Like, none of you believe that Jesus people are still here, right? You understand that all of those people from the Bible are long since dead, right? Well, none of those people were supposed to die until the book of Revelations came to pass. So, yikes. This is the way God chose to communicate with his church, right? The God of the universe is like, you know what I'm going to do? I'm gonna make this thing where only basically pedophiles should be there, because anybody that's willing to give up togetherness, closeness, love, sex, they have to be fucking insane, right? They have to be fucked up. So I'm gonna make this situation created by and for pedophiles. I'm gonna make this situation created by and for pedophiles to dumbass, to facilitate, you know, their greatest desires. A bunch of dudes that like to play dress up, wear yarmulkes, you know, where people are supposed to bring their children. But I'm gonna make it so the book isn't gonna be written until 1611 by a fucking horrible tyrant known as King James. And it's literally a Jewish fairy tale. Like, all of the main characters are Jewish. Jesus is a Jew, Mary's a Jew, like, it's all Jewish fairy tale. But I'm also gonna make it super, super like cryptic and written really poorly, and just a dumb story altogether, and a bunch of holes in it, a bunch of just stupid shit, right? I'm gonna make it like that, and that's gonna be the book that everybody, that's the guidebook. And of course, no mentions of, hey, don't rape children. Nothing like that. I mean, it's just so fucking stupid. Prophecies have been foretold and been fulfilled. You cannot deny. Yeah, I'm still waiting for those prophecies. Still waiting for the prophecies. Eh? Right, because, you know, so many people have multiple fucking YouTube pages, right? Don't you guys have multiple? I'd love to hear some of these prophecies that have been fulfilled. I love when they say it's like a weather event. You know? Some weather event happens and they're like, see? I know this has happened multiple times in the past, but oh, jeez, so stupid. The blood of atonement and our sins. Now he's gonna just start fucking quoting biblical bullshit again. Moreover, brethren, I declare unto you the gospel which I preached unto you. What a redundant thing to say. Moreover, brethren, I declare unto you the gospel which I preached unto you, which also ye have received, and wherein ye stand. Didn't that make sense? Morning. By which also ye are saved, if ye keep in memory what I preached unto you, unless ye have believed in vain. Again, why would he put these different things in all these different verses and different books and shit, so that it has to be like figured out? And now this dumbass is just putting shit out again. Like, it's so weird. Just dumb. Just dumb. You mean the same God that allows you to have free will, but you must submit to him without proof, and even with proof, would worship such a cruel, evil God? Right. I mean, it's fucking stupid. Anybody that would believe that shit is a piece of shit. God doesn't force you to love him. Not one point made. Not one thing where somebody reads it and goes, yeah, that makes sense. No, that makes sense. Obviously, look at the way the world is. Like, you could see it in real life. I asked one question that still isn't being answered. Yeah. Funny, you keep pushing, you keep writing these different scriptures down. A lot of the times, the quotes come from conversations that are had between two people, or even one person and God. So who was writing it down? You know how you fucking bigots like to use God to justify your hatred of homosexuals using Sodom and Gomorrah, right? Sodom and Gomorrah. I am the second coming of Satan, saying that like a body on the same side, floating and yeah, I bet. So dumb. Look at how dumb these comments are. I mean, it's so crazy that they're just so stupid. So let's talk about Sodom and Gomorrah. So Sodom and Gomorrah there's a guy, his name is Lot, and he's sitting outside of, like, on the gates around Sodom and Gomorrah or some shit. And Sodom is one city, and Gomorrah is another one, but they're attached. You know, how many people are in each? We don't really know. But they're basically like these walled cities or some shit. I don't know. But Lot is this old man, and he's sitting outside of the thing while these two angels, he doesn't know they're angels, but they come walking up. And Lot's like, hey, strangers, why don't you come hang out at my house? And they're like, yeah, no. It's fucking weird. What are you talking about? And Lot's like, come on, it's getting dark. I'll make you some unleavened bread. And they're like, oh, shit, unleavened bread. Let's go. And multiple times throughout the story, it's like the Transformers symbol, right? Where the scene changes. You don't get how it went from here to here. It's just, they're outside the gate, they're talking. They're like, nah, we don't want to stay at your house. And Lot offers them unleavened bread and points out the fact that it's late. And you know, so they're like, okay, I guess we'll go do it, right? Israel was under the law of Moses. What a dumbass. Oh my God. Moses, you know, the guy that led the Jews through the desert for 40 years. Like the entire Bible is based off of just absolute stupidity. Exodus itself is the dumbest story in the Bible. None of you are dumb enough to believe in Exodus. That any 2 to 3 million people could just walk around the desert for 40 years. Yeah, no problem. And all their livestock. No problem. What did they eat? What did they drink? Oh, manna. Yeah. Manna would appear on the sandy desert floor as a tar-like substance. So a tar-like substance appears on the desert floor and has to be harvested every day because it goes bad. You can't keep it overnight. So every morning they have to be out there harvesting this manna to feed their entire 2 to 3 million people and the livestock. Except for Friday, when, because Saturday is the Sabbath, they're not allowed to do anything on the Sabbath. So Friday's manna actually lasts through Saturday. Right. And then they finally make it out of the desert. And Moses goes up on the mountain. And he's gone for 40 days. But it's not like he's gone for 40 days and then this happens. At some point, you would assume within just a couple of days or weeks of him disappearing, all of his people, all of those people that followed him around the desert and supposedly saw him part the fucking Red Sea and all this other shit, they're like, you know what? Fuck it. He's not coming back. So let's take everything that the Yahweh, all of it, let's throw it all away. Moses' brother is going to take all of our gold. We're all going to donate our gold. And somehow Moses' brother is going to build a giant golden calf mold by which all of our gold will be melted down and made into this giant calf, of which will have its own religious beliefs and own practices. And they somehow came up with all of that within, the 40 days that he was gone. And everybody had fucking been like, all right, yeah, fuck Moses. We're just going to believe this new thing. So Moses comes down and he's like, what do you mean you guys believe something else? Well, I have this evidence here, but fuck it. Smashes the tablets. The supposed laser-etched tablets that Moses got from the burning bush that he was talking to, he smashes them in a temper tantrum. And that's why you believe. But, so the angels, they're at Lot's house now. And suddenly, all of the men of both Sodom and Gomorrah, think about what you think like 2,000 plus years ago looks like. So, and by now it's dark because it was getting dark, so now it's dark. But they're like hitting their anvils and stuff. Ding, ding. They're like, I don't know, they're sitting in their thatch roof houses with the candles burning and and their wives are all 13-year-old little girls and shit. 12-year-old little girls, sorry. But suddenly, all the men in the town are like, hello. They're suddenly gay. But they're not like gay. It's not like they run outside the houses and start fucking each other. No, they're specifically gay for these two men that they somehow know are inside Lot's house. Like, it's not like Lot posted on Facebook, hey, these two hot guys are here. Anybody who's suddenly gay, come check it out. Nope. Somehow, the two whole towns worth of people, the men, they just know that these angels are there in Lot's house, and they congregate outside, and they're like, hey, Lot, send out those two dudes in your house so we can fuck them in the butt, so we may know them. And Lot's like, I'll handle this. And so he goes outside, he's like, what the fuck are you guys doing here? You're not gay. And they're like, yeah, I know we're not gay. That's why none of us are fucking each other. But we do want to fuck those guys in there. And Lot's like, Jimmy, you're betrothed to my daughters. Meaning, they're, they could be anything. From what I'm now learning about the Mishnah Nada, as long as they're 3 years and 1 day old, they could be betrothed to these men through intercourse. But Lot's like, hey, I've got these 2 virgin daughters, so they must be 12 and under. For them to still be virgins in that community, they would have to be 12 and under. I've got these 2 virgin daughters here. Why don't I give them to you guys? You do with them what you will, but spare the 2 men that are inside my house that just showed up out of nowhere. Now, thankfully, the rape mob was like, fuck that. We don't want to rape those little girls. What are you talking about? We want to rape those 2 dudes. And they start walking towards Lot like Scooby-Doo zombie. And Lot backs against the wall, backs against the house, and suddenly the door opens and a hand pulls him in. And the angels make all of the men who are now specifically gay for them, now they're all blind. And they're like, we can't find the door handle that was right in front of us moments ago. We're now blind and we're slightly gay. And then it's later. Now it's just later. And apparently all of the men outside have gone home. And Lot is talking with the angels, and they're like, well, we weren't supposed to tell you this, but God is going to, he loves you, so he's going to rain down fire and brimstone from the heavens on Sodom and Gomorrah because everybody's so gay here. And Lot's like, well, they weren't gay till you guys showed up, and it's not like they were fucking each other, but whatever, okay. And so they're like, you need to get out of here. And Lot's like, where am I supposed to go? I'm old. I'm crippled. I'm in my 90s. Hey, how about this? There's a town just a few measurements away. Can we go to that? And I have a whole bit about how they call up God, but I don't feel like doing it. And so they're like, all right, you can go to this town. This other little town. And Lot's like, okay. And they're like, you, your daughters, your wife, and the 2 men that your daughters are betrothed to. And Lot's like, all right, I'll go talk to them. So again, it's still that night. Lot is now at Jimmy and Timmy's house, and he's like, hey, Timmy, you know how like earlier today you were suddenly specifically gay? And knew those 2 guys were at my house somehow. And then you subsequently went blind for a little while. And they were like, yeah, that's fucking weird, right? And he's like, well, that was God. God's going to rain fire and brimstone. And he's mad because everybody's gay. And they're like, oh, you silly old man. Nobody's gay around here. We were gay for like those 2 guys, but nobody's gay. That's a stupid thing. Why would God? No, we were just blind for a little while and gay for a little while. Specifically gay for a little while. You're crazy. And Lot's like, okay, I tried to warn you. You didn't want to go, but I tried to warn you. Now you're going to suffer the wrath. It's okay, but who cares? You don't believe it, so have a great day. I'll see you later. Goes home, goes to bed. Now it's later. And now it's the morning. And they wake up like, oh, Kevin! They overslept, right? And so the angels are like, whoa, what are you still doing here? And they're like, I don't know, we overslept. I set the chicken didn't wake up right. I don't know, whatever, we're late. And they're like, all right, well, you got to get out of here. God's about to rain the fire and brimstone. And so they warp the family outside the gates of Sodom and Gomorrah. And they're like, all right, go. And whatever you do, don't turn back. So using Godspeed, they go heading off in the direction towards the town. But because women are so stupid, dumb women, the bane of existence, the fucking bad guys in the Bible, the wife turns around and looks to see what's happening, and she gets turned into a pillar of salt. And so now it's just Lot and his 2 daughters. They don't seem really upset about the mother. they get to the town, and once they're there, and again, I don't know who's in this town because they don't speak to anybody, and the way the Bible makes it sound is everybody died. But they're in this town, and Lot's like, hey, you know what? I think those angels might have been lying. It just so happens that I have a cave all the way up at the top of that mountain. Already all set up. You know, beds and shit are there, food supplies are there. Most importantly, enormous sums of alcohol are there, just in case, you know, whatever. I don't know. What do I know? I'm just an old crippled man. So they boink, boink, boink. Mario jumped their way up to the fucking top of the mountain in the cave. And they say, you know, so they're in the cave. They can finally look back. They see that Sodom and Gomorrah are a smoldering wasteland. And so, it's later, da-na-na-na-na. And now the two daughters, who, again, have to be 12 or less, private conversation in the back of the cave. You know, so I don't know who wrote this down, but they have their little private conversation, and they say, you know, hey, younger sister, you know how our father is like this really great man who tried to protect those two strangers from the rape mob by offering us to the rape mob? Yes, older sister, he is indeed a very good man who deserves to have his name, his legacy carry on, and unfortunately, he only has two daughters. So how can his legacy be carried on without having a son? And the older one's like, well, that's where my genius comes into play. See, the way I figure it, as long as we get him so drunk that he doesn't know what he's doing, because he's the man, he can't know, and we're the females, so it doesn't matter if we know. But we'll get this 90-plus-year-old man so drunk that he doesn't know he's having sex with his own daughters, and you know, we'll get pregnant and have sons. And they're like, that's a great plan, older sister. And older sister's like, right? I'm going to do it tonight. So that night, they get their father super drunk. She goes and sneaks into his bed. Him being so drunk, he doesn't know what's going on. He, of course, as a 90-year-old man who's hammered, whiskey dick be damned, he, you know, rapes his daughter. I mean, let's just be honest. He's a 90-year-old man. She's 12. You know, that's rape any way you slice it. And the next morning, this virgin is like, hey, younger sister, it worked. I am pregnant, and I have a boy inside me. And younger sister's like, huzzah, well, I'm going to do the same thing tonight. Cycle repeats. Younger sister the next day, I'm pregnant, blah, blah, blah. They go on to have two sons. One son becomes the leader of the Ammonites. The other one becomes the leader of the Moabites. Now, interestingly, when you look into the Nation of Islam and the black Muslims and all these other weird-ass groups that were allowed to exist and somehow, you know, spontaneously came out of nowhere, and I think this is such an important thing. The leader, the Nation of Islam is said to have been founded by a guy called Wallace Fard Muhammad. Wallace Fard Muhammad is the founder, the creator of the Nation of Islam, the black Muslims. So I show you this piece of shit because we all know who that piece of shit is, right? That guy is Wallace Fard Muhammad. That guy is the guy who created the Nation of Islam. Isn't that weird? He kind of looks like... He kind of looks like kind of looks like, you know. And the other founding, you know, like the Nation of Islam absorbed other smaller black power, sort of black unity religious groups. And one of the main currents running through all of those groups is that black people are the descendants of the Moabites. So you have black people running around believing that black people come from the incestuous relationship between Lot and one of his daughters. Right? Just think about how fucking insane that is. Why would black people willingly subscribe to that shit? I mean, I guess everybody sort of does, you know. The whole Adam and Eve belief is basically an incestuous one. Multiple times even. Because Noah, you know, Noah and his family had to repopulate the earth. Again, somehow making black people. Notice how nobody's actually going to debunk anything I'm saying. How can you? Funny how as soon as we start talking about the obvious child rape incest story of Sodom and Gomorrah, all the Christians lost all their fucking wind. Isn't that interesting? Isn't that interesting? I'm sitting here talking about Sodom and Gomorrah, the thing that they all use, these bigots use to justify their you know, their hatred of gay people. Well, the Bible says. Yeah, well, sounds like your Bible's pretty fucked up. Right? Sounds like a prime reason why it's dangerous to have your ultimate book on how people are supposed to live be so left up to interpretation. Right. Yeah, trying to make fun of God's, yeah. Doesn't make it any less true, right? So you are all about that child rape and that incest, aren't you? Child rape and incest. That's your Bible. It's all just so stupid. And again, it's all Jewish. All of those characters, they're all Jews. It's a Jewish fairy tale. Why do you think they're God's chosen people? Like, it's just fucking stupid. I can debunk it. You can't debunk a single thing I just said because I just told you the story. Right? That's what the fucking story says. Go ahead, tell me what part's wrong. Especially the important parts. Obviously, I had some fun with it. But what did I get wrong? The Talmud wanted people to trans out. That's why. Yeah, that's what it is. See, it's amazing how the bigotry is laced throughout, right? Like it's a joke, you know. People are fucking people. Like the funniest thing is those people that normally have the biggest issue with gay and trans. They're usually the people that have the you know, the secret life. They're secretly looking at shit. They're secretly, you know, they're way more involved than people realize. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Look at this crybaby shit, man. Wah, 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 wah. I don't know how you prove something doesn't exist, but I think I do a pretty good job of it. I mean, you notice how I don't have an issue going at any specific thing that's presented. It's interesting how my detractors never do that. They never actually debunk what's being said. They just cry about it. But to me, like that whole Sodom and Gomorrah narrative, you have to be a sick fucker to believe that shit. And of course, none of these people ever have anything to say negative about Mishnah Nadah. Like, I feel stupid having spent so much time on the dumb fucking Bible. Right? It's just so stupid. It's such a dumb book. And it's so, like, as much as it's the biggest religion, it's the biggest, sheep catcher. It's so easy to override, but it doesn't compare to the Mishnah Nadah, which is the Talmud. And this is Sefaria.org, which tells you what it says. It gives you the Hebrew version, and then it gives you the translation. And as fucked up as the Bible may be, nothing in there says a girl who is 3 years and 1 day old. See, this is where you also have to ascribe it to the Bible, right? Because those daughters of Lot were little Jewish girls. Mary was a young Jewish woman, well, a young Jewish girl. Joseph, an old 80, 90-year-old Jewish man. You can be mad about it all you want, but it's what it says. So when you think like we're talking about, like, the Bible isn't a part of this, whereas this is a part of the Bible. A girl who is 3 years and 1 day old, whose father has arranged her betrothal, is betrothed through intercourse. If anybody wants to take a stab at why that is somehow a mistranslation, or I'm twisting things or something, give me another definition of intercourse. I'd love to hear it. Man, when I was talking Bible, I was allowed to have 12, 13, 14 views. Now I get knocked down to one as soon as I start talking about this shit. As the halalchic status of intercourse with her is that of intercourse in all halalchic senses. And in a case where the childless husband of a girl 3 years and 1 day old dies, because he's in his 80s or he's in his 50s or however old he is, and she's 3, so obviously she's not going to have any children yet. If his brother, the Yavam, engages in intercourse with her, he acquires her as his wife. And if she is married, a man other than her husband is liable for engaging in intercourse with her due to violation of the prohibition against intercourse with a married woman. If the girl is less than that age, younger than 3 years and 1 day, The status of the intercourse with her is not that of intercourse in all halachic senses, meaning no ownership takes place. Rather, it is like placing a finger into the eye. Just as in that case, the eye constricts, sheds tears, and then returns to its original state. So too, in a girl younger than 3 years and 1 day old, the hymen returns to its original state. Hmm. Ugh, look at that dude's ugly ass fucking face. Jesus Christ. That's exactly what you would expect. Oh, what the fuck? Now he's making new pages. Joined 27 minutes ago. Funny how that works. In the case of a boy, 9 years old and 1 day, whose brother had died childless, who engaged in intercourse with his Yavama, his brother's widow, the status of the intercourse is that of halachic intercourse, and he acquires her as his wife. But he cannot give her a bill of divorce if he chooses to end the marriage until he reaches majority. And if he engages in bestiality, he disqualifies the animal from being sacrificed upon the altar. And the animal is stoned due to his act. Put into a pit and stones thrown at it till it dies. Yeah. It's what they do. It's what they do. They were all Jews, but Jesus was one of the good ones. He rebelled against the satanic. Oh, man. You're just so dumb. You're just so dumb. Like, what Jesus did, if you actually read the Bible, is walk around whining, telling everybody they should listen to him because he's the Son of God. And if you don't listen to him, you're going to be sorry. And every time he was forced to sort of prove it, it was some fucked up shit. Like, I grew up thinking Jesus taught the blind to see. It was like a televangelist thing where a bunch of blind people were brought before Jesus, and he was like, wow, and everybody could see. Turns out, Jesus is walking through the temples all Godspeed with his big following walking behind him. Like, Jesus, you're awesome. While also, there are some naysayers there, and they're like, Jesus, you're not Jesus. You can't do shit, Jesus. And he's like, all right, I've had enough of this. And so he walks outside in old blind Billy, who's, he's old, he's blind, he sits on the corner, he begs for money because his family had a blind child, so they were pariahs. They were considered bad people, and the family lived on the outskirts of town. The people spit on him all the time, treated him bad, beat him up. They're friars. So it's literally what they do is they're just awful people, right? And so everybody knows old blind Billy. He's a fixture in the town. Jesus walks up to him. Jesus spits into the desert sand. So you have to imagine it's quite a bit of spit to be able to create a paste out of desert sand. So Jesus is hawking these huge loogies and spitting in the sand, making this paste up, which he then rubs into old blind Billy's eyes. And he's not like, here's a bucket of water, rinse your face. He's like, you got to go over to that river, like over there, not that one, one over there. Go into that river and rinse off. So everybody watches as old blind Billy stumbles his ass over to the river, rinses off. He comes, he can see now. Oh, everybody's like, huzzah, huzzah. One person's like, hey, JC, let me run something by you real quick. And JC's like, verily, verily, what's up, verily, verily? And the guy's like, hey, let me ask you, what did old blind Billy do? Or like, did his family do something? Did his were they like bad people when they were kids or something? That they were given this affliction of having a blind child, so we would spit on him and everybody would be mean and they'd have to live on the outskirts of town. And like, what did they do to deserve that? And Jesus is like, oh, verily, verily, you're so silly. No, they didn't do anything wrong. No, my dad, who like owns this dealership, he'll totally hook you up. My dad, he knew that one day I would need to perform this miracle. And he like, I couldn't just bring somebody out of the crowd because you guys wouldn't trust me. So you had to know who Old Blind Billy was. He had to be here for you guys to know he's actually blind. But because he knew that I would need to do this miracle on this day, he put Old Blind Billy there. Huh? And everybody's like, oh, that's cool, I guess. Like, that's a weird way to do things, right? Or when, the whole Jesus fed everybody with the 2 fish and the, blah, blah, that shit. Turns out that story is worse than you think, right? So by this point, Jesus has this huge following, and it's been multiple days. So every other day, apparently this huge following is able to feed itself. But this one day, the elders or the follower, the apostles, whatever you want to call them, are like, hey, JC, we don't have any food. Everybody's really hungry. And Jesus is like, oh, Jesus Christ. Okay. So what do we have? We have 2 fish and two loaves of bread. Okay. Well, you guys go ahead and eat of the fish and the bread. You eat what you need to, and whatever scraps you have left over, just put it in the basket. And so the Magnificent 7 eat their fucking, or Magnificent 12, whatever, eat their portion, and they put the skeletons and like the heads of the fish in the basket, along with 2 little crusts of bread that were left over. And then the people eat from that. That's all that said. It doesn't say that like more fish appeared or more bread appeared or anything. It just says that the people were able to eat off of the scraps that were left over. And then the next morning, when they wake up, Jesus is gone because he got mad. He didn't want the people to feel like they could rely on him for food, so he bounced. He left all his following there to wonder what the fuck happened and, probably feel bad. But Jesus didn't want to have to feed his people, so he bounced. That's your biblical stories. You guys just don't realize like how much you've been manipulated, and most of your perception is from some televangelist bullshit or some, very, very, it's like the Billy Goat's Gruff story, right? Most of you don't even remember it. Nowadays, kids, they don't learn those old fairy tales. Strangely enough, like all those old nursery rhymes that my grandmother used to tell me, those are lost. Those don't get told anymore. But most of those old Mother Goose rhymes and shit, they're way worse than what we were presented. They've been lightened up. They've been, they've been, sterilized so that they're not scary or they're not as bloody or as gory or whatever. Like the Billy Goat's Gruff story is a fucking violent one. They fucking kill that troll and shit. But you've been given this palatable version of things. But it's not what the story says. All scholars agree. They say that Mary was between 12 and 14. But they only say the and 14 to sort of, again, make it a little more palatable for some reason. Because 12 years old would be fucking too much. 14 is almost 16, so I guess. And they universally agree that Joseph was probably in his 80s or 90s. At least 50, and then a couple of schools of thought say he was in his 20s. But any way you slice it, he's at least 10 years older than Mary, more than likely decades older than Mary, because he's a widower. He has grown adult children of his own from a previous marriage, a successful carpentry business, And it's the custom of the time. It's a custom of the friars. 50, 60, 70-year-old men take a wife who, at 3 years old, 3 years and 1 day, if they rape her, well, now they belong to him. And it's once they have their bat mitzvah, 6 months after having their bat mitzvah, where they've been inspected to see that they have at least 2 pubic hairs, they're now considered adult women, and they can start popping out kids. I mean, how stupid do you have to be to believe in any of that biblical bullshit? They literally call it the Abrahamic religions. How could they be different if they all have priests, if they all have the same foundation, the same characters? They're all different, though. All three are considered the Abrahamic religions. Abraham being the father of all religious people in Christianity, being a prophet in Islam, and being the father of the Jewish people in Judaism. The mother of the Jewish people is Sarah, who is his younger sister. But hey, let's not talk about that part. It's all bullshit. How long do they get to be like, just keep wait? Jesus is going to be here anytime now. It's only been 2,000 years. Any day he's going to show back up, and you don't even have to worry about being a good person anymore. You just get raptured if you lived a, righteous life, which you haven't. Literally, the vast majority of you, if you could have sex before you were married, you did. And then, once you got married, you had sex for reasons outside of procreation lots of times. You got blowjobs. You went down on your girl. You probably tried anal once or twice. You're going to hell. You got tattoos on your body, you're going to hell. Ear piercings and shit. Well, ear piercings seem to be the only acceptable mutilation, I guess. But this is fucking stupid. Like, you're going to hell. You're fucking going to hell. And the rapture is going to come, and then 400 or 4,000 years, whatever it is, of rapture on earth and Armageddon, and oh God, it's all so stupid. You better follow the rules. Jesus is coming. And if you haven't had sex, you've definitely jerked off before. You definitely have. You ever been at a friend's house or a neighbor's house and been like, oh man, that's a sweet phone. Oh, that's a sweet TV. Oh, that's a cool video game. Yeah, I'm going to get that. I wasn't going to, but I got to play it here. Now, I think I'm going to covet thy neighbor's good. I want the thing that you have. You're going to hell. Sorry about your luck there, buddy. If you're watching, like, share, sub. Helps out, I guess. That's what they say. I don't see it. I used to get a shit ton more views when I only had 1,000 subscribers. A shit ton more. Like if I had 5 viewers and 7 likes, it's unacceptable. Thank God, Jesus can't come fast enough. Yeah, that's what it is. Oh, look, Jerry the pedo's here. Jerry's a fucking pedophile. He thinks raping children, raping girls. He doesn't think that little girls have an age limit. Do you understand how fucked up that is? Because the 3 years and 1 day thing isn't like a cutoff. It's just a cutoff. It tells them, don't worry. If you rape the child that's less than 3 years and 1 day, especially because they all have micro penises, don't worry, the hymen grows back. She's still available. She's still, she could still be bought and sold. After 3 years and 1 day, well, now that hymen's going to stop growing back. If you break it. Freedom of speech, and he's terrified me. He's terrified me, LOL. He won't even acknowledge my video I made. Yeah, sure, I won't. I am, yep, says Jerry. There you go. He's acknowledging that he's a pedophile. Like, I know somebody is keeping track of these IP addresses. So, keep track of Jerry's, because he will be hunted down. Just look at it, man. Look at how gross these people are. They're just, look at them. Have you seen them? Have you seen how they live their lives? Have you seen their communities? Have you seen the videos on Curious Joel and Lakewood and shit? They're just monsters. Right. They're puketronic, man. You think God's gonna make his chosen people the ugliest people on earth? The most inferior physically? Tell me about the last great Friar athlete. They got that one guy in the NBA right now, and they're just losing their minds over him. Every once in a while, they'll get something. Back when black people weren't allowed to play, that's when the Friars really had their renaissance. That's when you get the Friar boxing champions, the Hank Greenbergs and shit like that. You got to look something up. Go in the house and look up Mishnah, Mishnah, Niddah 5:4. Get your phone, I'll tell you again. Yep. Mishnah, Niddah 5:4. It should pop up. Niddah. Mishnah. New word Nidd. Yep. DD. AH. 5:4.
Okay, I got it.
Okay, now that first thing is Serafina. You see that?
Yep.
Okay, read what it says.
All right.
Click on that. It's going to give you the Hebrew translation, and then just below it, it'll give you the English.
Ooh.
That's all you need to show people. Yep. The whole thing is fucking crazy, but that in particular. It's random neighbor. Because not a single person is going to see that and go, like this, yeah, so, yeah, 3 years in one day, why not? That's the wall. That's where I believe is the ultimate of all the research I've done, of all the arguments I can win. You know, we can talk about Act.io, we can talk about auto-emancipation, we can talk about the Havara Agreement, you know, we can talk about all that shit. All of it. All of it is secondary. It's fucking insane. It's fucking insane. Which part's the bullshit there, fake rabbi who believes that raping children is an act of God? Who, when I literally, before I had the understanding that I do have, I asked him about this. And I said, what is that? What do you call that? Because, you know, when Goyim rape children, they're supposed to be killed. But when you guys rape children, what is that? And he said, it's not rape, it's an act of God. What's up, Matt? So are you denying what the Talmud says there, fake Rabbi Ebosh? Are you going to go blasphemous on us? Speak that blasphemy. Right. Speak that blasphemy. Let us hear it. Tell us. So you're saying that it's terrible, the Talmud is terrible? Why are you being so cryptic? Seems like you want the attention so bad, so now I'm giving you the attention and giving you a chance to explain things, and all you're doing is being blasphemous. Like that chick did what she did to her children. I would have never known that if it wasn't for God. Right. Naomi Elkins. And she didn't do shit. Naomi Elkins is soul correction gone wrong. Or gone right, for all we know. Those kids could have been sacrificed, for all we know. Naomi Elkins did not kill her kids. Because you do it. The fuck does that mean? I'm just so confused as to this moronic sort of response. Again, why aren't you just explaining what I'm getting wrong? The Mishnah Nada, tell us. You need smart people to operate, so you buy up the Goyim. Right. And then every once in a while they get arrogant. Like every once in a while you'll notice that Hollywood stagnates. And, you know, the 50s is a great example where somebody was like, hey, let's make Western movies. And they were like, oh, okay, Western movies. Well, we don't need you anymore. And they just made Western movie, Western movie, Western movie. Same thing with you know, martial arts movies. Right? The 80s was just this flood of martial arts movies and action movies. Some Goyim comes up with this formula, and then the friars just run it into the ground. And eventually, they have to start hiring they have to start hiring Goyim back into the positions just so they can revive the business. We're in one of those stagnant times right now. That's why Hollywood isn't doing shit, especially considering the Goyim are out there just creating their own. With Netflix and all these other things, Hollywood doesn't, you know, the Goy don't need Hollywood like they used to. Hollywood doesn't have the stranglehold it had. It's still, you know, it's still fucking ridiculous and shit. Right. I will never, so I guarantee, I mean, I don't want to go to a heaven where I get there and I'm like, hey, what about all the children being raped and the whole, you know, 3 years and why didn't you do something about that? And God's like, you said something about that. Why were you speaking out against pedophilia? Like, I don't want to be in that heaven. No helmets there.
He was wearing it on the motorbike, on the other bike they were.
No, he wasn't, was he?
Yesterday he drove by, didn't have it on. He went straight home and got it on. Hello. Hi. Hello. Yeah. Yeah. You ready?
Oh, man. No, this is just, heaven is such a dumb concept. How can my heaven exist and, my grandmother's version of heaven exist together? How can my heaven exist and the boy from 1320's heaven exist? Like, does heaven, continue with time, or once you're in heaven, like, are you stuck in your era's heaven? Because I would imagine the kids that died in 1300 are like, fuck yeah, this shit is great. What do they get? Is there a limited? Do they get future stuff too? Like, do they have the PlayStation 17 in heaven? How does that work? How does my heaven, where I would like to, like if I know I'm terminal, or if I get to heaven, I'm gonna want to fucking shoot heroin, man. I want to find out what that's all about. I want to know what that amazing feeling that so many artists I admire chased after. I know myself personally, like, if I did it now, I'd never come back. So I'm just not gonna do heroin until I know there's no other options. Oh look, the plane's not leaving anything and going to the airport 10 miles south of here. What a surprise. Oh look, nothing coming out of the plane. But man, I sure would. And think about this. So if in heaven, do guys like Jimi Hendrix? Do they? How does that work? Think about how many people throughout the years want to hang out with Jimi. When I go to heaven, man, I'm gonna hang out with Jimi Hendrix. Like, Hendrix is gonna want to hang out with you. Like, wouldn't it basically be the same thing it is here? There'd be the elite people that everybody would want to hang out with. But those people wouldn't want to just hang out with you, random people, all the time. So they would have to have, like, security guards, heaven security guards, to keep them separate. And, like, if I feel like hanging out with somebody, I will. But I'm not just going to hang out with you because it's fucking heaven and that's what we do now. Yeah, you loved fucking All Along the Watchtower. Great. You and a gazillion other people. Thanks. What else? Can you imagine how shitty heaven would be for somebody like that? But again, heaven, I would love to be able to sit there. How could I be in heaven if my wife and kids aren't there? How could I be in heaven if my wife and kids are there? Wouldn't in heaven I get to bang a bunch of really hot broads with and without my wife? It's heaven. It's my version of heaven. I get to sit around and listen to really great music really loudly. Is my grandmother's heaven there too? Where she's like, don't do that. What are the neighbors going to think? Like, what? How stupid is this concept? And if it's not that, then what is it? What, do we just sit around and listen to church hymns all day? I know from what I'm told about God, God has multiple rings of creatures that are around his golden throne at all times. One of which is required to say, oh, Lordy, 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 you are the best. You deserve all the praise you get because you're so good at everything you do. Paraphrasing. Oh, Lordy, Lordy, Lordy. And they just say that over and over and over and forever. That's what they do. That's their entire life. Man, I hope I don't get recruited into one of those. Like, it's such a dumb bunch of shit that you don't. that you just don't even, you've been so pre-programmed with it that you don't even think about it. If accepting Christ is all that's required, we all go. But that's not what it is. It's not. The whole idea of accepting that Jesus died for your sins or whatever, all that means is you get to live forever, which means you could theoretically live forever in hell. And as I've said before, you're all going to hell. If all it meant was you had to accept Jesus to go to heaven, then for the centuries that the church sold indulgences, that wouldn't make much sense, would it? Why would people pay the church for indulgences when all they had to be like was, I'm sorry, I won't do it again. Well, we both know I'm going to do it again, but I'll say I'm sorry after I do that one too. Like, if anything, I would assume that little loophole is set aside for the things you didn't know that you were doing. Like, didn't you know you weren't supposed to have sex before you were married? Yeah, but I said I was sorry every time I did it. Like, that's not going to work. But again, the church forever sold indulgences. If you knew you were going to start sinning, you were going to have a sinful week at children or whatever, you could pay the church X amount of dollars to get, a little vacation or whatever you want to call it from your accountability. Again, if all they had to do was, oh, I'm sorry, why didn't they just do that? You read The Color? If God is real and we are living through the pages of a book, I think we are pretty screwed because the God in the First Testament is a monster. Isn't there a Bible verse that says the path to heaven is as narrow as a chances of getting into heaven are as a hair passing through the needle of an eye or something like that. It's something small like that. Yeah. Right. You're not going to heaven. Everybody, when they're like, their parents die and all that, grandparents die, they're looking down on us from heaven. Your grandmother, like when I was a kid, our grandmothers were like, some of them were flappers and shit. They went through the 30s and the 40s. They weren't going up to Makeout Mountain in fucking cars that were the size of queen-size beds so they could just make out for a couple of hours. It wasn't like there was this explosion of VD clinics everywhere because people weren't fucking like crazy. And then the grandmothers of today, like our generation, a lot of those kids, their grandmothers were young in the 60s and 70s and the 80s. Do you know how much people were fucking doing cocaine and all kinds in the 80s? Especially the early 80s. Yeah, your grandmother was doing that shit. She was just like you. She was partying her ass off. Especially unlike today where you kind of know it's bad. Back then, up until like the mid 80s, cocaine was like, okay, yeah. It was a social drug. It was what the rich people do. You can't do it because you can't afford. And then they engineered crack, because crack is high-level chemistry. That there weren't just some black guys in the hood with this abundance of cocaine going, okay, let's add this much baking soda and see if that works. Okay, let's do this, and I don't know the recipe. But it's a fucking chemistry thing that you have to get exactly right, or you're gonna fucking kill people. It's how you take this much cocaine and make this much cocaine out of it. And then you have the news going, hey, you know how we told you cocaine was like amazing and rich people shit? Well, this is a cheaper, more powerful version being sold in every corner of the hood. It's gonna take your fucking problems away, at least for a little while. Cheap as shit, stay away from it. At the same time, in every hood throughout the country, crack just appears. Because just like with the friars and the child rape, all these black guys just had the same intuition at the same time. Do you understand how fucking ridiculous all this shit is? It's baking soda, but it's not just baking soda. It's a process. You don't just mix Coke and baking soda. Got to be the right temperature. It's got to be dropped in it. And then there's meth, which is even more chemical fucking chemistry set. You know, some fucking idiots in the fucking boondocks, in the boonies, weren't just thinking about, hey, well, let's get some battery acid and some Sudafed and shit, and we'll just, blah, blah, blah. Nobody did that. This shit was put out there. It's an operation to kill as many people of color as possible, to subjugate them, to fill the prisons, so the workforce, like, people just don't understand, like, especially prior to the automation that we have today, prison labor accounted for so much of, like, products, desks and shit like that. People didn't know that's where they came from, but they're made by prison. Didn't China create meth? Well, as an American, we're supposed to blame everything for China, the China virus. But the Germans were using meth, supposedly. But like this dude used to be on my feed all the time, dumbass Jeremy up in Minnesota. He used to talk about this fish tank meth that he would make, where he would put a bunch of chemicals in a fish tank, put a lid on it, and then hang some strings from the top. And after so many weeks or whatever, there'd be these huge crystals that would form on the strings. And he was like, yeah, that's the best meth possible. Man, nobody accidentally dumped a bunch of fucking perfect amount of chemicals into a fish tank one day and then accidentally had some strings fall in it where they were like, holy shit, where'd these crystals come from? I don't know. Why don't we smoke it? Like, that shit just doesn't happen. Do you know how many people you have to go through testing with this much in it, with this much in it, with this much in it, each individual ingredient? This much of this? Okay, well, that's too much of this. Let's pull this one back and raise this one. And eventually you get the right formula. Flyers, chocolate, tangers. Yep. Everything you have history-wise, you always have to take it with a grain of salt. Because none of the history is going to be like, well, the friars created it and then put it out to fuck with people. That narrative is never going to be presented to you. Look up Operation Cast Thy Bread. If I sit here and I say they're the most ruthless people in the world, they fucking poison drinking water systems, they have a history of it. You look up well poisoning, and there are supposedly a couple of different instances of people doing it, but historically, only one group of people was that sick. And the first town taken in the establishment of Israel is the town of Acre, in which Operation Cast Thy Bread, a Ben-Gurion approved operation, they poisoned the drinking water system with botulism, made the people all sick, so they couldn't fight, they couldn't do anything. The kids, women, children, tons of people got sick from it. And that's how they established the first town of Israel, was through well poisoning. Yet if you bring up well poisoning, they'll be like, that's an anti-Semitic trope. There is no history of us doing anything like that. And it's like, you're the only ones that have the history of doing that shit. Just like blood libel. They love when you claim things when you say things that they don't like. Netanyahu does it all the time. Friars do it all the time. That's a blood libel. What you're saying is blood libel. Hoping you don't know what that shit means. Because blood libel is them kidnapping Christian children, draining their blood to bake into their matzah and use in their rituals, and then discarding the body in a place open so that it gets found. That's what blood libel is. And for something that supposedly is a fake story, man, there are like 100 examples of it just on Wikipedia alone from throughout the years. You know, especially the 1900s and the 2000s, the 1900s and the 1800s. There's tons of examples of something that didn't supposedly happen. They just got blamed for it. All these communities that weren't in contact with each other back then, right? They didn't have an internet to look it up and go, okay, well, what can I blame on the fry? Okay, well, I'm going to spit. Oh, this kid found the body and his blood drained. And, well, who can I blame this? It says that the Jews are known to do this. That's not how that works. It's the same thing with anti-Semitism. You know, Semitism is a very old word. Anti-Semitism was coined in the 1800s as a response to Semitism. It'll tell you that it was a way of making hating friars sound more scientific. No, if you just look at the word means policy or predisposition. Semitism means policy or predisposition favorable to Jews. Policy being rules and regulations. Predisposition being like genetic programming. Like if your mom's family all has cancer, even if you don't smoke, drink, do anything, you have a higher likelihood of getting cancer because of the predisposition. They demand that policy and predisposition is favorable to them. Nobody else has a word like that. Nobody else has something on the books that demands that, and if you don't get it, it's turned into an anti-that, which is like an accusatory, calling somebody, it's like the worst thing you could say is call somebody anti-Semitism. As far as anti-Semitic goes, well, Semitic people are the Palestinians, the Iranians, the Lebanese, the Syrians, all of the people of that region are Semitic. So the Jews are the anti-Semitic people because like they've banned DNA testing in Israel, but the DNA testing that has been done shows that 95% of them have zero Semitic DNA. They come from Ukraine, they come from Europe, they come from the Americas. You know, they're not from that region, which is why they're so allergic to it. And really, the whole idea of returning to the homeland and all this other bullshit really wasn't a thing until the late 1800s, apparently. Strange, huh? You should clip it. If you like what's going on, like, share, sub, man. Help out. If you know anybody else saying these things, well, fucking A, help them. But I don't know anybody else saying this shit. And anti-Semitism was coined in the 1880s or so, again, right when everything seemingly starts, literally to oppose Semitism. The much older word. Because nobody should be like, oh yeah, they get special treatment. For sure. Legally. Like, yeah, of course. I guarantee, if you're my age, if you're in your late 40s or older, and a few years younger, you know, I'd say 40 or older, you probably grew up in the same situation I did where, well, it can't be 40. It has to be like 45. Because I was the last generation, like, I was the first generation to have computers. We were the first ones. We were the first ones to have internet. You know, one day I went to, I was new to it, to the internet, and I went to print out something on George Washington. And it was like print or print all. Well, fuck, print all. Of course I want the whole thing printed. And back then, if you sent the thing through the printer like kept it. You could even unplug the printer and it would still want to finish printing that thing. And so it was like 12,000 pages that it wanted to print. They were so mad at me for that shit. Again, why? It makes a big fucking difference. But if you're of that age, I know I had a month-long history lesson every year that I was in school, telling me that the friars, that the Jews were the victims, that Israel was established as a result of World War II. 6 million this, blah 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 blah. Like we were bombarded. We had to read Anne Frank. We had to do all that shit every single year. It was the same month-long bombardment of this information. You better regurgitate this shit. When Schindler's List came out, like we had to watch Schindler's List and shit. You know. This is what they did. And during that time, I never once heard mention of the Havara Agreement. I guarantee none of you ever did. Look it up. Haavara. Pretty sure that's what it is. Oh shit. And me not believing in spacemen fits in with the firmament tent. You deny since you are hell-bent on insisting that Earth is a dome. And like giving up breathing for lead, well, I hope this makes your head explode. We're gonna look it up for you, because I know you guys will want to hear about the Havara. You won't trust me. I guess I don't expect you to trust me. You shouldn't trust me. Right? You should be looking this shit up for yourself. But I'm going to read it to you. This is called the Havara Agreement. Hang on one second. Go to Wiki. Wikipedia is the best source around because Wikipedia is what they want us to know. I'm not saying everything on Wikipedia is true, but it's the truth that they want us to know. A link will be in the description to the most important 30-second clip available on YouTube, which is Jesus Christ, why can't I remember his name right now? Naftali Bennett, former and probably future Israeli Prime Minister, but former Israeli Prime Minister, highest ranking friar you can imagine, back in 2010, telling you that everything that comes out of Wikipedia is balanced and Zionist in nature. You know what, again, I can tell you about it or I can just show you because you won't believe me if I just tell you. So here's Naftali Bennett talking to the Israel National News back in 2010.
Has arranged metzitzia in conjunction with My Israel has arranged instruction day for wiki editors. The goal of the day is to teach people how to edit in Wikipedia, which is the #1 source of information today in the world. As a way of example, if someone searches the Gaza flotilla, we want to be there. We want to be the guys who influence what is written there, how it's written, and to ensure that it's balanced and Zionist in nature.
There you go. Okay. Fucking proof. Wikipedia is the #1 source of information in the world, and they need Israel to come tell them how to do their job. Pretty simple, man. Cry about it all you want, but it's what it is. The Havara Agreement, or the Transfer Agreement, was an agreement between Nazi Germany and Zionist organizations signed in August 25th, 1933. Wait, what? Hitler had already taken power by that point. What do you mean, Zionist organizations? Did you ever hear about Zionist organizations when you were in high school or in middle school or getting your month-long lesson plan on World War II? Did they ever talk about the Zionist organizations signing an agreement with the Nazis to The agreement was finalized after 3 months of talks by the Zionist Federations of Germany. Did you ever hear about the Zionist Federations of Germany? The Anglo-Palestine Bank, under the directive of the Jewish Agency. Did you ever hear about the Jewish Agency? And the economic authorities of Nazi Germany. It was a major factor in making it possible for the migration of approximately 60,000 German Jews to Palestine between 1933 and 1939. 10,000 per year paid to move and start colonizing Palestine. But wait, World War II was payment. The Palestinians had to pay. Wait, what? Hey, does this make sense to you? The whole notion of the 6 million took place between 41 and 45. 4 to 5 years. Meaning, the Nazis were supposedly disposing of 3 people every minute for 4 years straight. 4.5 years straight. Do you think that's real? I'm 100% pedophile from my lineage. We rape children 3 years and 1 day old. We own them. Prior to that, we just rape them. Right? So fucking stupid. Are you denying the Talmud now? You're the 100% friar. Are you saying the Talmud is wrong? I'm really interested in hearing you guys tell us how the Talmud's wrong.
Guy, son of Guy, born Christmas Day, to parents born on the same day. Same year, summer solstice, the cusp between Gemini and Cancer, meaning 6 astrological signs came together to make Guy, son of Guy, and Mary, daughter of Joseph and Margaret Magdalena, again, born on
Is it the solstice? No, we got 11 days. Tell me about it. Tell me what I'm wrong about. Tell me how I'm wrong about auto-emancipation. Auto-emancipation is a pamphlet written anonymously in German by Russian, Polish, Jewish doctor and activist Leon Pinsker in 1882. Well, it was written in 1882, anonymously in German, and then later was attributed to Russian, Polish, Jewish doctor, who was only a doctor because he got his law degree, but friars weren't allowed to practice law in Russia at the time, so he became a doctor instead. It is considered the founding document of modern friar nationalism, especially Zionism. 1882 is when the idea of the homeland and we need to return and all that. 1800 years, they never thought to do that. Not very much. Pinsker discussed the origins of anti-Semitism and argued for a friar self-rule and the development of a friar national consciousness. He wrote that friars would never be the social equals of Goyim until they had a state of their own. He called on friar leaders to convene and address the problem. In the pamphlet, he describes the anti-friar attacks, which is us not accepting their supremacy, as a psychosis, a pathological disorder, and an irrational phobia. You're crazy. You're schizophrenic. You're delusional. Of course we're the chosen people. We wrote the book, it says so. No, we don't have to provide you any proof. Yes, it's okay that we rape children. How else can the little boys get their covenant with Abraham if they don't get the metzitzia? It's metzitzia. It's one of 4 parts of the Brit Milah. We have to do it if we want the mitzvah. Yep, I'm crazy. Isn't it interesting how, as a crazy man, I have all of this historical fact to back up what I'm saying?
This is my
Gee, that's amazing.
No, I know I should be better, but just like Betty Botter, I'm bitter that my batter clearly struck out like my father. But when it seems as though you matter to an actor such as Greg, it feels like good luck to shatter both of your broken legs. Since it wasn't like I begged, you fed into my conclusion. He said our square peg led to round.
I'm just waiting for somebody to prove me wrong about literally anything I'm talking about.
And we were bound to see improvement when the loose ends disappear. So I cruised the not clearing the ship.
Nobody's going to address Mishnah Nada because they can't. What are they going to say? How are you going to make it sound like it's okay that children get violated and they get owned after the violation? Just please. Ew, that's nasty. What's up, dude? You good? You good? As good as you can be. This guy in the upper limit is killing me. Yeah. Not the raping of children. You don't mind that part. Right. So doofus, man. Just so fucking stupid.
Your eggs are Arnold's best.
This is what pedos do.
This just made me smart a bit, but
pedos don't focus on the subject, especially when the subject is how do we kill pedos. Pedos try to distract. They try to come up with whatever they can. They don't have to be respectful. I don't give a fuck. Let them out themselves. Anybody can out themselves. I'm more than happy to have people out themselves. If you hear that I'm saying they rape 3-year-old children and then acquire them through marriage. If you don't hear that and think something's wrong, I want to know who you are. I would much rather you tell us that you're one of those people than, waste any bit of time on you and whatever. Like, you're a piece of shit. It's just what they do, man. I never encourage anybody to be censored. It's embarrassing. By the way, if you're watching, like, share, sub, help out. I'm going to keep saying it. I don't say it enough. I'm going to keep saying it. Ask yourself why all the other truthers you listen to that are allowed to have these huge pages. I mean, I have 14 views and 14 likes. Does that make sense to you? 1,200 or 2,600 plus subscribers. 14 views and 14 likes. Totally makes sense, doesn't it? You've seen that before. All of you guys that are allowed to have these huge feeds, your Nick Fuentes's, your Ian Carroll's. Where's Ian Carroll? Has he showed up yet?
Nothing. Just put on literally anything that's allowed to be on the radio.
Anything? Has he showed up? Or is he still missing? He's got to feel like a shitbag, right? He signed up for the gig, but then, probably, hey, Getty boy. Where's the other one? Okay, give me it. Yes.
I gotta wait for you to hold on, right?
Oh, you got one right now. Then give me that one, and you have the other one. And selfish ass. The blunts that I rolled, I smoked. Oh, what an asshole.
Underneath the bed of red, white, and blue corsages, as their bedding, their massages of the simple truth be regretted or acknowledged, since the bruise is excused by Goyim ignorance, admonishing the youth to devour. Aren't the cartoons on TV supposed to entertain us? The buffoon we clearly see seems like such an ignoramus. Like balloons being used to achieve a story that's made famous. It's all controlled by thieves, therefore anything them is painless. Twumps like Elmo Fudd.
I'd love to know what I'm on about.
In his top hat.
Oh,
Something
we have a reset.
bloody bugged me
Chrissy's
like
here
how
again,
Goyim got back. Trust
crying
me,
about
though,
me,
you say it's not fact. Blocking
proving
back
how
aggression.
stupid Christians
He
are,
sucked so much that
as
Shepard
always.
thought that he could teach them lessons. Stop
That's
that
so
angry
embarrassing,
lesson.
man.
The
You're
impression
so
Goyim
embarrassing.
have from odds so stacked against them, their depressions only have to be suppression that the math
Hear that?
passes when you test it. The expression when they laugh is like a fast food with septic water grasping since they're
Anyway,
desperate for a
I'm
respite
gonna
from the scrutiny.
bounce.
Asking to keep
I
them
appreciate
separate
everybody
from
being
what's
here.
destined to be a mutiny.
Obviously, they don't like what we're doing.
Things as they tell us to. Investing in our
Always,
and
you
using
know,
our greed while selling you do. Unusual breed of elephant shoe, yelling through another disguise.
evil conspiracy theory.
Settle for those who deny the better view seen from the sky. Flying right over the protest. They'll never lose if we don't try. Let's shine a new light on these roaches.
Who's having an emergency? It's right here.
Aren't the cartoons on
It's not
TV
cool.
supposed to entertain us? The phone we clearly see seems like such an ignoramus. Like balloons being used to
Anyway,
achieve
go get your
terror.
free stuff. Go get the free download. www.bilderberg.group.com. Free to download, free to listen to, enjoy, share with people. That's all we ask. It's gonna ask you how much you want to pay. Click download. It'll say how much you want to pay. You put 0 and it's free. That's all we ask. Just enjoy it. Just help. Oh shit, it's the new neighbors. Look at these sexy firemen. They all so sexy. My description is the blueprint. You want to know how to see things and what's going on. I give you the entire blueprint laid out in the comments or in the description. The very first link is to Mishnah Nadah. That's what you need to focus on. Mishnah Nadah is the fucking thing. Go read the shit. It's the first link. It's the second link. Sorry, the first link is the website. The second link is Mishnah Nadah. Then you have Hollywoodism. Corner house? Or the new neighbors?
Baby?
Just the woman. The woman, she's fine. She walked out with him, so she's probably having some issues. Stay out of it.
I'm walking
Oh,
down here.
nosy ass wife. Who is it? What's going on? What is it?
I didn't see it till I came outside.
Third link is Hollywoodism, most important film ever made. Go watch it. It's on YouTube. It tells you why you dumb Goyim believe in George Washington. Why you dumb Goyim, believe in the 1776 and the revolution and the blah, blah, all that shit. It's all just manufactured bullshit. Hollywoodism. The fourth link is the link to Israel Hayom's Bottom of Darkness, which is the most important article ever written. It explains why they are the way they are, why you can have an entire population of psychopaths who say, I know we just bombed your house, but go buy a new house. Were you raped from 3 to 12? And then once you were 15, 16, forced to rape a kid yourself so you could get your own transcendence and redemption? No, just go buy a new house. You'll be all right. Yeah, of course we get $3.8 billion a year. It's not free. We paid for that shit. Like, the Bottom of Darkness explains it all to you. Soul correction happening every 2 weeks after a Torah lesson, where the adults all stand in a big circle naked and read scripture and all that shit, while the kids are in a smaller circle and inside naked, and then the rape happens. And this happens all throughout Israel, top to bottom, Hasidic to secular. Meaning it's happening in the United States too, in communities like Lakewood and Curious Joel and Huntington Woods here in Michigan. And it's what they do. It's To them, raping children is like you Christian Catholics eating dead body and drinking blood. You know, it's a necessity. You have to, you don't even think about how gross it is because it's just a part of your thing. And you're excited to do it. You have a big party to do it. They're taking the first communion. And you don't even understand it. They don't look at it like sexual assault. They look at it like a necessity to attain the next level of their cult. The little boys can't have the covenant with Abraham without the metzitzia, without the suction. If you don't complete all 4 elements of the fucking ritual, the ritual's not completed. If you don't pretend to eat the dead body and drink the blood, well, then you don't get your communion. It's just that simple. You have to understand that's what we're dealing with. It's so much worse than you think. And it's all very easily explained in my in my multi-part example in the description, in the links in the description. Just sign up, like, share, and sub, and you will have access to the entire list. Or don't. You still have access to the list. I encourage all my naysayers to go look at all of the examples. You show me somebody from a religious side of things, or somebody from, especially from their thing, that provides you with such a comprehensive list of how I'm wrong. Right? I provide a comprehensive list explaining exactly why I'm right, why this cult needs to be eradicated. And I don't believe any person with any sort of decency could go through all the links I provide and still be like, no, we need to protect them. They're God's chosen people and shit. No. So go check out all of my evidence. There's also a bunch of links to the Facebook page, different music videos, so you can share those with your Facebook friends. Sign up for the Facebook page. If I'm not live here, I'm live there, or I'm live on the Spaghetti the Cat YouTube page. You'll see. Spaghetti the Cat. It's actually the guy from TBG, I believe. Guy Williams from TBG, I believe. Something like that. You'll find it. I have the most incredible video on YouTube on that page. It shows Grok cloning my voice and telling me I basically, to make the video I made, exposing them for what they are. And then Grok denies the ability to do that, which it can't do. You won't find another video where Grok, mid 2-hour rant, mid 2-hour conversation, suddenly Grok, for one comment, clones somebody's voice and then tells them that they had to do it. And then later on in the video denies even being able to do it. Like, it's crazy. It's crazy. Well, and you have to, Spaghetti the Kitten might be a better one. I don't know. Have to look for the guy from TBG. Guy Williams from TBG. Pretty sure that's what it is. You'll find me. Go subscribe to the Facebook page. That way you can communicate with me. I can respond to your messages through Facebook. Have yourself a great day. And you pedophiles, you kill yourself. Wait for it. Don't want it to cut off that last bit.